Hi everyone, welcome back to the channel. It's always so lovely to see you. There's loads of really rubbish stuff going on in the world at the moment, so one of the ways that I kind of escape is by reading, and I've read so many great books lately and a couple of really rubbish ones. So I'm going to be sharing with you some of these. I'm going to be bringing them to your attention, so if you haven't heard of them you can go away and look them up, and some of these are really cool. Now, number one. So some of these will be fiction, some will be non-fiction, and my number one book on this list is a book called War Doctor by David Knott, who is a British general surgeon. This is a book, believe me, you are going to read like this. I have never read a book that has made me genuinely so terrified for this guy's life. Like, he is in war zones, constantly putting his life at risk to try and help people, to be where people need surgery. He goes to all kinds of places. He goes to Syria, he goes to the Congo, he goes everywhere. There is nowhere this man won't go, even to the point of people saying to him, even the organisation saying you shouldn't be going to these places, and David Knott wants to go, and he's doing some really incredible surgery, and he's right there helping people where they need to be helped, and it is a fantastic memoir. And actually I would say it's probably got to be the best memoir I think I've ever read. But it is a nail biter, so if you're looking for something to kind of calm your nerves down, this is maybe not the book for you, but it is a great book. Okay, number two on the list is something a little bit different, and this is a book that you probably won't have come across, but I really loved it, and it is a collection of short stories by an author called Nadia Kabir Bab, and they've all got kind of a British Bangladeshi theme, and usually I'm not a big fan of short stories. It's not something that I've ever really read, apart from, you know, the Roald Dahl ones, which are obviously incredible. But it's a really nice collection of stories, so if you're looking for a lovely bit of escapism, please do consider Truth or Dare, because it is fantastic. Now, going into another book which has been around for a while, you will have heard of the author, so I'm going to give you, if you've never read any Agatha Christie, and you should go and read some Agatha Christie. The thing with Agatha Christie is, in retrospect, they look a little bit cliche, but she doesn't found the genre of detective fiction, but kind of like this 1920s, you know, locked room kind of like manor house, you know, she kind of is founding that genre, and they're wonderful, they're great stories. If you are looking to start with some Agatha Christie, I would absolutely say go for The Murder of Roger Ackroyd. It features a doctor, so it's all in theme, but her best two are generally considered to be And Then There Were None, which probably in its day was absolutely gobsmacking, but with all the, you know, we're used to twists and turns these days, I actually was much more grabbed, shall we say, by The Murder of Roger Ackroyd. I do think it's cleverer. I think the characters are more convincing. So if you are looking for an Agatha Christie and you haven't ever read any, go for The Murder of Roger Ackroyd. Now, the next book on this list is a book called Unnatural Causes by Dr. Richard Shepherd. This book is fantastic. So Richard Shepherd is a pathologist. He's a forensic pathologist, and he's been involved in his capacity as a forensic pathologist with some cases that you will be aware of. So he was the pathologist who worked with the Princess Diana case, and he's recounting his career, all of these pathology cases, which were really, really interesting. It's a fantastic insight into the life of a forensic pathologist, and one that's working right at the top of his field as well. I think he specialises in knife crime, so there's a bit of a focus on knife wounds, but yeah, absolutely brilliant. And if you haven't come across Unnatural Causes, I would strongly recommend it. The next book in this list is by Professor Sue Black. Now, Sue Black is a leading, she's an anatomist, and she does all kinds of forensic work. She is absolutely incredible, and she's got two books. The first is All That Remains, and the second is Written in the Bone, and they're all about kind of forensic cases that she's been consulted on. Now, if you've ever read any Val McDermid, Sue Black is the professional that Val McDermid collaborates with to create her incredible works. Now, I've read both of these books. I strongly recommend the first one, All That Remains. It's absolutely gripping, riveting, true life stories. I didn't love the second one quite as much. So if you are looking for a really fantastic read, I would 100% recommend the first one. And if you really like it and you want some more, then go for the second one, Written in the Bone. But the second one nowhere near as strong as the first. Oh, the next book, I'm so excited to tell you about this. So this is a great piece of fiction. It's called A History of Burning, and it's by Janica Oza. So this is it's a piece of fiction, and it's kind of a family epic. It starts in the late 19th century in India, and it's a story about a young boy who's he's like the only man in the family, the only one of a workable age, and he's trying to help his family survive. And he ends up in Uganda, and if you're aware of all the struggles that go on in Uganda in kind of the 70s and the 80s and through to the 90s, it's all about that struggle and how one family copes with the constant kind of upheaval of what life in the 20th century was like for different types of people. And it's absolutely beautifully written. It's very evocative. It's really interesting. And maybe you don't know, obviously most people don't know that my husband is, he's half Indian, so I'm always interested in kind of stories that are rooted in Indian traditions, and there was a lot that felt authentic in this book based on conversations that I've heard Ash's family say. So there was a real authenticity to this book that I liked, but I actually didn't know very much about what went on in Uganda. And so it was really interesting to kind of hear that perspective. So if you're looking for a great piece of evocative fiction that's going to stay with you long after you read it, this is the one. And that is my quick rundown of the books that I've been reading lately. The only one I didn't like that I've read recently was a book called Prison Doctor, and I can't remember the author's name, but I picked it up because I think, like most of us, we're interested in the police force, we're interested in prisons, but I just kind of never really engaged with the stories. So if you're interested in, you know, doctor memoirs and you're interested in prisons, then it exists and you can go and find it. Let me know what you think. But it wasn't one of my favourites. So do try everything on the list if you're interested. I would love to hear what you've been reading and whether you recommend it. So please drop your recommendations below. And I'm going to make a video next week and tell you what I've been up to. And I'll be making more of these kind of ready videos as I find the time to read more things. So thank you so much to everyone for watching these videos. I really appreciate all of you always, and let me know what you've been reading.